Hi guys, it's IRENE'S Braids and I am back with another video. Alright you guys, so let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So here are the tools and the products that I'll be using today. I have my IRENE'S Braids Precision Parting Combs, I have some clips, this is some Shining Gem, and I also have some braid formula. This is a medium hold. I believe this brand is Eben. I think that's what that brand is, but I don't have the top to remember, so I will have to leave it in the description box for you guys. We are using color 1B27 and this is Expressions Braiding Hair. We have a total of 4 packs and those 4 packs have already been pre-cleaned and prepared and I've already lined them up on my braid rack. So we are going to be doing some triangle part knotless braids and I'm going to just show you guys how I like to begin my braids. Alright, so I like to start off by going ahead and pre-parting out my parts. You do not have to pre-part your parts. You can actually part as you go. But for me, I like to pre-part so that way I can see what I either need to add or take away to make sure that my parts are complete and they're actual triangular parts. So I have a total of 5 braids here. And so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how I like to feed in the hair and start my knotless braids. I like to begin with putting a little bit of the braid formula on the tips of my fingers so that way it helps with a better grip. And then I like to feed in a small piece of braiding hair into the braid until it builds onto the small braid that I'm looking for. And I will continue to do this method until I feel as though the braid is complete. I will also give you guys a much closer view of how I feed in the hair. Once we go get a couple of rows up, you will see that method as well. So with that being said, let's continue watching. So this is the 3rd row that I am starting on. I've already completed 2 rows and now I'm working on my 3rd row. So I like to continue parting my rows straight across until I get to the top of my client's earlobes. When I get to the top of their ear, that is when I start to do my U-shape parting. But for now, let's continue on with how I part them straight across. As you see here, I'm going to just continue with pre-parting my parts. I've already placed just a little bit of the braid formula down in her scalp to keep the hair away from one another so that I continue to part without the hair, pretty much combining into a big mess. I want to make sure that the parts are consistent, and so leaving a little bit of that product just helps me be able to do so. I like to then sometimes go over my parts as many times as I feel that I need to make sure that those parts are nice and clean. The crispier and cleaner that your parts are, the better the outcome will be. But most importantly, if the hair isn't clean, then the parts pretty much will not look good at all. You want to definitely make sure that you're parting on clean hair and that you're always braiding on clean hair. So what I'm going to do is have you guys continue watching, and I'll be back to share more details and more tips when it comes to how I do my triangular part knotless braids. So I've completed my first row of knotless braids with doing my U-shaped parting. As I said, previously in the video, that once you get to the top of your client's ear, you want to go ahead and start doing your U-shaped parting. So here is row 2. I've completed 2 rows of my U-shaped parting. And now I'm going to go ahead and part out my 3rd row. And this is what my 3rd row looks like so far. I want to go ahead and show you guys how I continue parting within my 3rd row, so that way you guys can see that as well. And I use the same products, and I also use the same braiding tips. I make sure that I pre-part, but then I also like to do the pre-parting again because it helps for me to know whether I need to take away or whether I need to add more to the section that I'm trying to part out. And this will just help you guys make sure your parts are nice, clean, and consistent. So with that being said, let's continue watching, and I'll be back to share more tips and details. So with wearing small knotless braids, this is about an 8-week hairstyle. You can sometimes stretch this until about 9 weeks. I feel as though sometimes clients who have not had the IRENE'S braids experience, I always hear different results when it comes to wearing knotless braids because they are not able to wear them as many weeks as I've mentioned. Either their braider does not add enough hair or does not make them full enough, or sometimes their braids are a little too scalpy. And then they have the results of not being able to wear the style for long. So with my knotless braids, and because of how I do my foundation and my braid pattern, it will definitely help give off, more of a full look and allow clients to be able to wear the hair longer than 3 weeks. Because some of my clients say they can only keep it in for about 3 weeks and then they have to take it out. And as much as knotless braids are costing these days, I would be highly upset if I had to take my braids out in 3 weeks. Seriously. So I think that this pattern is a better option if you're going to do your client's hair, your sister's hair, your friend's hair. This is the better way to do it so that way they can have longevity. So with this particular style, I like to, after I do my rows, I have one more row to go. So I will say about 4 to 5 rows that I U-shape part. Please remember that everyone's head size is different, so don't go exactly off of how many rows I did because you will end up messing up the entire head because everyone's head size is different. So some may require more rows than others or less rows than others. This particular client has a very small head, so it didn't take me that many rows to complete the look. So still go off of the same format, but if you need to make more U-shaped part rows, then do it. So now that we're at the top, I like to part my rows straight across now. So here is my first row that I did already. It's already done. That was the first row that I parted straight across. Underneath this row is when I U-shape my parting. So here we are. I'm going to lay that down. That's my first row, and here is my second row. So I have a total of 4 rows at the top that I parted straight across. Now, when doing your middle part, you want to make sure that your braids are consistent. So whatever you did on the opposite side, you want to make sure that it's equivalent to the same side that you're doing. So I'm going to match up my parting exactly how I see it on the opposite side. And how I do that is I take my comb and I start parting from wherever the hair began on the opposite side. And I make sure that I mirror it exactly how I see it. That way your clients have an option of a clean middle part, and then they can also style it in a side part on the left side or the right side. They can bun it and style it in many ways. So this just pretty much gives them more options to be able to wear their hair how they so see fit. Okay, so with that being said, let's continue watching. All right, you guys. So off camera, where you guys will not be able to see, is I took my client into my shampoo room. And what I did was I dipped her hair in hot water. I used my electric kettle pot that I purchased from Walmart. And it's actually made for hot water for coffee and tea, but I actually use it to dip my client's hair in. So it's about under $30. You could purchase one, and you want to fill it up with water. Go ahead and start the pot so it can start boiling the water. Then I like to pour some of the water out and add cool water to it, so that way the water is not too hot and does not ruin the braids. I dip my client's hair in hot water, and then I use a little bit of Nairobi hair foam, and I apply that all over the top of her head, down through her parts. You don't need to really apply that at the bottom of the braids. It's not necessary, just only at the top and like halfway through the middle of her head. And I massage that in very good. And then I use a little bit of braid oil sheen to pretty much make the braids shine. And that's all I did. And of course you won't see it off camera, but this is how the results would look after the fact. Her braids are absolutely gorgeous, and it was worth every single hour. It took me about 5 hours to complete this, and of course with recording content for you guys, it just took me a little bit longer, but of course I wouldn't have it any other way. Don't forget to click the link in the description box if you'd like to book a class or book an appointment with me. And don't forget that you can always find me on all social media platforms at IRENE'S Braids. And please leave some comments in the description box, in the comment section, so that way I can hear what your thoughts were, hear your feedback. I would love to hear that as well. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.